Hello and welcome to Quick Techie Learning Resources. In this session, I'm going to cover Cloudera Data Platform, specifically focus on the private cloud base and data services platform. There is a lot of confusion about Cloudera Data Platform terminology, what kind of different kind of platforms are available. So through this session, I would like to clarify your concept so it would become easy for you to going forward when I record more sessions on this. So before even going to start this training session, I would like to tell you like this video is from hadoopexam.com. So previously or currently if you see like we have hadoopexam.com for entire big data and cloud technology platform where you can do lot of learning etc. Correct. So if you can go to hadoopexam.com and you can see all the detail available. But now because this platform is very specific to big data and cloud, and we don't want to be specific and providing more learning resources across different technology. So that is the reason you are seeing here this message. We are moving from Hadoop exam to Quick Techie. So many things we have already migrated from Hadoop exam to Quick Techie, and now new material would be launched on the quicktechie.com. So whoever have existing subscription from Hadoop exam can continue use quicktechie.com as well. Whatever subscription they had, they can use it on quicktechie.com as well. Now, so this is the platform. I'll not go in detail. So now this blog is available here, and this is what I would use during this session. So this is entire documentation. So the link I would paste under the video or description as well, wherever you are watching this video. So let's start with Cloudera Data Platform. In this also I would like to tell you like how to browse the content on this website quicktechie.com. You have to go to content library and you can see all the certifications are available. If you go to big data world, we have 2 published for Databricks, 3 published, 3 certifications are published on cloud. So if you click here, then sorry, this link doesn't work here. So if you click here, then it would launch this certification link here. So let it get launched. It is a bit slow, but it is fetching content, so it would take time. So let me put back button here. Sorry. So this is my blog, and let me open this. This is another way you can open this content. So in a new page we will open it and let it get open here. So you can see here these are the big data certification, and in that Cloudera certification, if you go here, so these 3 certifications are available here: Cloudera Generalist certification, Administrator certification, and Cloudera Data Developer certification. So this session which we are recording today is very useful for all these 3 certification. You must understand the concept which we are going to discuss in this session. So let me start it without wasting much time. So introduction to CDP. So CDP is a Cloudera data platform, so which is used for various data analytics, load, machine learning, data ingestions, data warehouse activity. Many things are done. So we will go through each component in detail later, but right now let's try to understand CDP at a 10,000 feet above perspective, so you can understand this. So CDP platform it comes into 2 factors, basically in 2 variations majorly. You can say one is a private cloud and another is a public cloud. Private cloud means you can install it on your in-house data center or any data centers on using virtual machines or your actual physical servers. You can install it a private cloud. Public cloud is Cloudera itself is managing this clusters in the public cloud like Amazon, Azure, Google Cloud, etc. Correct. So now today we'll focus on the private cloud and we'll go in detail about this private cloud. So Cloudera Data Platform, there are basically 2 versions of, again there are 2 part of the Cloudera Data Platform in the private side as well. So here one is a base infrastructure which is private cloud base, and another is a private cloud data services. So sometimes people get confused like there are 2 different kind of platform available on the private cloud side. No, it's not that the case. It's an integrated part of private cloud base as well as private cloud services. You can work with just a private cloud base. That's enough if you want. Then if you want to run your custom services, but if you want to run more compute clusters like dynamically, then you would be using private cloud data services. What does it mean? Basically, let me draw and show you how this thing works basically. So suppose if you have this private cloud base is installed here, correct? So this is, for right now, assume it private cloud base is installed. Now you wanted to spawn your data engineering workload, which you can run it on this cluster itself, correct? Private cloud base. But sometimes you don't want to do this. You want to have a separate cluster for that virtual cluster, and that is, let's say, Spark cluster I want, and that is Kubernetes based, correct? Kubernetes based. So what I would do, I'll spawn a new cluster, let's say virtual cluster. I would give a name virtual cluster for load 1, correct? So this is my load 1. So what I can do here, basically I can define a cluster, and this cluster can be a Kubernetes based another virtual node cluster, which would be running your data engineering workload, correct? So that is what. So that data engineering workload, if you want to run on this cluster, then you can have this data services, that is called engineering data services. Now let's say if you want to run your data warehouse in a different cluster, you can run it here as well, but usually you don't want to do this. So what you would do, you would create another virtual cluster, which is again Kubernetes based cluster or container based cluster, which you can use it, and you can create here data warehouse cluster here, correct? And which can run in a OpenShift Red Hat OpenShift cluster, or you can provide embedded container cluster your own. You can. Third type of data services supported here is the machine learning. So you can run this machine learning on this cluster itself, but you don't want to do this, because why do you want to? Your base cluster should not be impacted. So what you would do, basically based on your various kind of load you need, you spawn a new cluster, define a new cluster. So suppose I have data engineering load 1, another data engineering load 1, which I wanted to run it on another cluster, correct? So that cluster, then this is D for load 2, correct? So this cluster. So what would happen? This load would run and this cluster would shut down. This load would run and this cluster would shut down. Similarly, as soon as new cluster would be dynamically created, and these are all container based cluster, correct? It's not a virtual. So if in your data center, this is private cloud base, you private private base cluster, you install it on your machines, whatever you define, like these are your all in-house machines, and on this you would install this cluster, correct? Now you wanted to run a data engineering load, 10 different data engineering load at 10 different types. So what you can do, you create an OpenShift container based cluster, correct, which currently Cloudera support, correct? So you don't have to create it, basically it auto scale it. You just need to provide this load 1 of data engineering should run using this configuration of the cluster. So then automatically, as soon as this load is triggered, it would spawn a new cluster, whatever is the requirement, and run your load. And once the load is finished, this cluster would go away. Similarly, next load would run, it would spawn new virtual cluster similarly and load it. So your base cluster is more of triggering the things what you want it, correct? And this base cluster, so these are the all data services, but this base cluster also has the capability to run all this load, but there is a limitation. So you can't run everything on your cluster, rather you want it to maintain your but small thing, if you want, you can run it on your private cloud base, else you would use this data services solutions, correct? So that all depend in what format you wanted to run it. So that is what here we have shown in this diagram as well. So you set up your in-house, first is private cluster, this is bare metal servers as we discussed, and on this you would have various workloads you can run it, correct, which we discussed, like, and even it has a storage and HDFS. And security management is using shared data security and metadata and governance. We'll discuss more. So this part is your private cloud base, and on that using like either embedded container service or OpenShift container service, which either of these two are supported right now. And you can run a machine learning load, you can run a data warehouse load, you can run a data engineering load, correct. And the management console to manage all this entire stuff, which we would do hands-on in future session. Then I'll explain you in detail how management console works and kind of thing. We'll do the actual installation of all these things, and then we'll come back here. And the replication manager to replicate the data across the clusters and kind of thing. So we'll discuss more about this component. So just right now, 10,000 feet perspective, we wanted to understand it. So this is your private cloud setup. So in data center, in fact, you are running this base cluster in your data center, but this data services, which you can run it in the cloud, like OpenShift cloud, you can run it, or you can have your in-house container services implementation as well. So you can run a different virtual clusters in your in-house as well. So now again, come back here. CDP Private Cloud is for both analytics and data management, machine learning, many things you can do this. CDP Private Cloud is deployed in private data centers. These concepts are very, very important for, especially if you are going for CDP 0011 certification, that is generalist. Certainly these questions would appear in your exam with the concept which we are discussing. So be careful and understand this. CDP Private Cloud is deploying in private data center. There's an integration of these two components, CDP Private Cloud Base and CDP Private Cloud Data Services. So we discussed this. This is the private cloud base and the data services. Currently these three different kind of services are available: machine learning, data warehouse, and data engineering. So what does this data services? Data warehouse means you need Hive, Impala kind of things, correct, and run the queries. So it creates a container based cluster, and you can run this Hive Impala based workload on the data warehouse. Similarly, data engineering, suppose if you want to load some data from somewhere, do the cleaning of the data and then transform the data, so entire data pipeline you want to create it, correct, and for that you need a Spark cluster to run this load. So how do you get the Spark cluster? Either you use the whatever in the private cloud base, but you don't want to overload your current this private cloud base setup. So what you would do, you define a separate embedded container services cluster or OpenShift cluster, and automatically as soon as your load is triggered, this new cluster will be created, container based cluster will be created in either OpenShift or here, and then your workload would be executed there, and then after that cluster is finished, it would shut down your cluster, and then whatever activity needs to be performed will be done. So this is the combination of this. This combined solution can be used for data analytics, artificial intelligence, data warehousing, etc. CDP Private Cloud Base. CDP Private Cloud Base is an on-premises version of Cloudera Data Platform. You can run different kind of custom workloads just by using this. Even if you don't have this embedded container service or OpenShift container platform, still you can run your custom workload. But if you use this one, then you predefined cluster would be created and can be executed. CDP Private Cloud Base supports a variety of hybrid solutions. Compute tasks are separated from data store, and data can be accessed from remote cluster. So that is the benefit of a CDP platform, correct. Previously, if you remember, when you're working with a Hadoop framework, if you remember, then your compute is happening, sorry, let me draw it separately. So previously, if you remember, suppose this was your Hadoop cluster, correct. So this is your Hadoop cluster. So data storage was done on this node only using HDFS, correct. So this is what it is, and this all disk was attached with them, disk was attached with them, and this was part of your HDFS, and data would be stored on this, correct. And compute, whenever you submit the load, map reduce job or Spark job, that would be executed on this node itself, correct. So this is itself would take care of running your compute as well as your storage management as well. But now with the CDP, what CDP is saying, like you can segregate your compute. So if we see like here, this is my private cloud base installation, correct? If I need to run my data engineering load, so I'm spawning different cluster in a OpenShift or embedded container service, correct? And this is a just for compute purpose. And where is the storage? The storage, it can access the storage from S3 on a different Hadoop cluster HDFS. It can access data from the Google Cloud. It can access data from a file base or from various different locations. So your storage layer is separated out. So that is what private cloud supports. Like you can run compute separately, your data storage separately. So this kind of thing supported here. So compute tasks are separated from data stores and data can be accessed from the remote clusters. CDP Private Cloud Base is comprised of variety of components such as Apache HDFS, Hive 3, HBase, etc. Correct? We'll discuss more on this. There are many more components here. Custom clusters on CDP Private Cloud Base, you can select any combination of these available services to create clusters that address your business requirements and workload. So basically, if you want a CDP is like, now main important point, CDP doesn't mean only single Hadoop cluster, correct? CDP is a platform which can support multiple clusters. You can have like multiple clusters created and communicated using a CDP platform. Okay, so that is what you need to remember here. Like pre-configured services, we have discussed data engineering, data mart for data warehouse and kind of operational database using HDFS, Ranger and Atlas, correct? So these kind of services. Components here, so CDP Private Cloud has a following components. First is a Cloudera Manager, which you must know this, like what exactly Cloudera Manager, as name suggests, this is a manager. So if you want to manage more than one cluster, if you want to manage services, if you want to manage this kind of services, if you want to do your configuration, you want to monitor it, and if cluster, if you want to manage it, then you can use Cloudera Manager UI. So that is UI based as like web application from where your administrator can do many things, like entire cluster management of or CDP platform is done using Cloudera Manager. So using this you can monitor, manage, configure your clusters and services. Cloudera Manager also provide API to programmatically perform this above activities. Suppose anything if you want to run programmatically or schedule based, like if you want to create new cluster on schedule base, or if you want to attach new cluster, then you can use it this API based solution, correct? And your developer can integrate with that. You can manage one or more cluster using Cloudera Manager that we have discussed. Other things which you can do is manage installations. If you want to do various installation like Spark installation, Hive installations, this separately one by one, if you wanted to do, you can manage this. Cluster component upgrades, now you wanted to upgrade your cluster components like Hive 2 to Hive 3 something, so then you can use it. Maintaining workflows, like the maintenance workflows. Encryptions, like data encryption if you wanted to do. Access control, like who can access which data and kind of thing. Data replication, we'll discuss more in detail about data replication. Each of this thing in future session will cover in detail, but right now just try to understand what we can do using Cloudera. Virtual private cluster, you also use Cloudera Manager to create virtual private cluster that allows to separate compute resources from data stores and share the data. So we discussed already this. Apache Atlas, the second component, this is like more for the data lineage, like if you know from where your data is, when the data pipeline job is run, suppose, correct? If you create a data pipeline and if you run job, you load this data, you perform this action, then you perform this, then you perform this, then this perform this. So this entire data lineage, correct? Like, and then this data goes to from here to here, then this data goes from here to here, then this is all data lineage, correct? So this all maintained using the Atlas, and you can view the data lineage entirely. That is very critical for the data governance perspective, like my data, how my data is traveling from one place to another place, that you can get it from Apache Atlas. This is used for data governance. Apache Atlas works as a common metadata store which is designed to exchange metadata both inside and outside of the Hadoop stack. Okay, so and I'll not go in detail like read line by line, but you understand what I mean here. Now Apache Ranger, this is an access control mechanism through which you can define various policies, like and even you can do auditing of your data. Auditing means who has accessed my data, who has permission to read this data, authentications like who can log in, where he can log in, and kind of authorization, what he can access it, what are the entitlements for this particular user or something. That is what all can be done using Apache Ranger. Ranger has centralized reporting capability, so you can generate the report out of this data, and for this all detail if you want. Your security administrator can define security policies at the database level, at table level, column level, even field level or file levels, like what field you can access is, like if you want if your credit card data is stored in a database in a HDFS, and if you are accessing it, then it can the administrator can define whether you can see those credit card data or it should be masked. So this is very granular level data set can be maintained here. Permissions policies are maintained there. Time-based rules are supported, means like you would be given access like from 19 June to 25th June. So this kind of constraint I can put or administrator can put in your data, like for this data only 1 week access wanted to be given, then this can be managed. Geolocation based policy rules, so like from which location, if you are accessing your data from America, then you are allowed. If you are accessing your data from China, you are not allowed. So this kind of policies you can set up using the Apache Ranger. So understand this concept, especially for CDP 0011 exam, which is a generalist certification, where you need to understand what all this component, correct? So this is one component. Cloudera runtime, so this is the part of your base software itself, like this is part of this only, and this has a 50 plus open source projects included in this, like you can assume it like Hive is in that, which is open source, correct? Ranger in this, Nox in this, Ozone in this, HDFS in this, these are all open source software, and this is part of Cloudera runtime. So 50 plus such project, these are components which are used for various activities. So it's a combination of various and acts of open source software like Zeppelin and everything, which you can use it and you can run your custom workload. This is there are many services they have taken from Hortonworks and Cloudera and combined it and created this new platform, correct? So these are the runtime services you can say, like Hive, Impala, Hue, Data Analytics Studio, Spark 3, Zeppelin, HBase, Kafka, Nox, Apache Airflow, Ozone, encryption. So these many all component individually you should have when you install this private cloud base. Additional components with separate installations using parcels, like which are not part of runtime, like NiFi, you can, this is Cloudera Data Flow or Cloudera Flow Management, which you can install it separately. Then Cloudera Stream Analytics using Flink and SQL Stream Builder, Cloudera Data Science Workbench, which you can use it using parcels. Parcel is just an archival file, which is a Cloudera specific format, which they say like you should use this one to do the installations. Data visualizations also provided here. So this is all private cloud. So private cloud data services we discussed, like CDP Private Cloud Data Services and CD product, which brings many of the public cloud benefits to the data center. Why we say public cloud benefits? Because we discussed like you are accessing OpenShift cluster, which is based on Kubernetes on your CDP Private Cloud Base, which is even installed on your data center, but you are spawning a new cluster in the OpenShift to do your calculations using your CDP Private Cloud Base, correct? As you know, CDP Private Cloud separate out compute and storage load. We have discussed the data services capability provides containerized compute analytics application that scale dynamically and upgrade independently, which we discussed. Like I wanted to upgrade only data warehouse, I can do independently. If I don't wanted to do machine learning part, if I wanted to do data engineering upgrade, I can do this, correct? So that is what it's all it means. Simply using management console you can do this. Important, a CDP private cloud data services deployment require you to have private cloud based cluster, correct? So services deployment requires you to have, because without private cloud based cluster you can't have this cloud data services. And container based cluster to run the data services, container based either OpenShift or embedded container services, one of this we need to have this. So this is very important. So that's all about the CDP private cloud based introductions. I hope you get some idea about this private cloud. So just wanted to repeat it again, you must install private cloud base first, and if you wanted to run your data engineering workload, spawn a separate virtual cluster that is based on either of a Red Hat OpenShift or either based on a embedded container service, correct? So this is for virtual cluster. You can create as many virtual clusters as you want on a v1 v2 for different load, and v3 all. So once your load is finished, they are automatically gone away. So this is so you are charged only for this. So this setup is on your data center, so you are not separately charged from any public cloud. But for this services, OpenShift, if you are using it, then OpenShift would charge. If you are using embedded container services, then again that is not a on public cloud. This would be your own setup, and you would be not charged for that. So that is what it brings in public cloud related kind of services to private cloud. That's why this is data services are very important. But important thing, even if you don't want to use data services and you want to just have your private cloud based installation done and wanted to run many things, like, then also you can do this by using your custom services on this. So it is even not needed OpenShift cluster is required or not, kind of thing. So that's all about this. So let me just give overview about the cloud QuickTechie. So QuickTechie is a platform where you can see like how many students are already registered here. So let me open a new tab till I'm so all the content library, this same menu right now, you can access it from here or you can access it from here. So these are the big data certification, which you can see like various certifications. You can see NoSQL certification, big data certification, analytics programming certification, cloud computing certification. So most of the certification part, many of the certification part we have migrated from Hadoop exam to this QuickTechie platform. So soon we would migrate our training part as well here, so you can get it. So but meanwhile, if you are all subscribed on any of the platform, accordingly you can access it. Both are the common platform, but this is more better look and feel and kind of thing. So let me open one of the certification here. Sorry. So here this is Cloudera. This 3 certification. Let's open this CDP 0011 here, and here you can see this is the course page, which if you want to buy it, you click here and you can read the entire description about this course here. And if you are buying in INR, then use this section. If you're buying in dollar, then use this section. And then course content. So you can see here, you can click on this and this would launch this kind of window, and you can click here and launch the simple practice paper or whatever practice paper for this certification. So this would open in a separate window. So this would be launched like this, correct? And then this is what all paper you can access is like this. Okay, so this is how course content can be accessed. So this is the teacher detail about this course. This is if there is any prerequisite or FAQ for this course, then you can also access it from here. So this is what all about. And all the student which we have currently, you can see here like all listed here basically. You can see here. And then if you want to have any contact with Hadoop exam, use this contact button. Then various blogs are available here. New releases, what happening, so we are documenting here. So you can see here we have released today the CDP data developer exam as well. So simply you can come here, all the releases by dates we mentioned on this page, correct? And go to home page and you can see all the details. So you can browse it all the pages from here. So that's all about this. Thanks for watching, and I hope you like this session. If you're watching on YouTube, then don't forget to subscribe it. We will keep adding new sessions about this Cloudera data platform. Thank you. I'm stopping now.